All right, we get back to our top story tonight. As we mentioned in our opening monologue, Robert Mueller's team on defense tonight, really serious claims. The FBI pressuring General Flynn to be interviewed without an attorney present. Well, that has now got the attention of U.S. District Judge Emmett G. Sullivan. He's now ordered Mueller to hand over all documents related to the Flynn interview by 3 p.m. tomorrow. And on top of that, then you have James Comey on tape boasting, we totally took advantage of the fact that this is a new administration. We wouldn't have done this in the Obama or Bush years. Really? Here to discuss it more, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and the host of Sinclair's Full Measure, Cheryl Atkinson, is with us. Is this how we treat American heroes, that we now brag, this is something that I wouldn't have done or gotten away with a more organized administration like the Obama administration and the Bush administration. So I took full advantage. On top of the deputy FBI director telling Flynn he doesn't need a lawyer and that they wanted him relaxed. Meanwhile, because of the unmasking and leaking of raw intelligence, something, by the way, Cheryl Atkinson knows pretty much about personally, they had a direct transcript that they shouldn't have had. Congressman, when does this end and when do these people get held accountable? Instead of the people with the taxi medallions and the loan applications.
Well, that's why we've always said we need a second special counsel, because, we can't put anyone in jail. We can just try to get answers. But you're so right, Sean. When you say I got away with something, that just tells you didn't do it the right way. You didn't do it. You didn't follow the rules. You didn't do it the way you were supposed to. They were so focused on getting President Trump that they were willing to set up a lieutenant general, a guy who served our country, as you said, 33 years. So that's the most egregious part of this, what they did to General Flynn. The other thing I think is important to understand is Mike Flynn ran the Defense Intelligence Agency. He had to know his conversations with Kislyak were being listened to, were being monitored. So he had to know that. There's no reason for him to come in there and say something that wasn't true. He just got caught because he didn't know they were setting him up like they did. And so Judge Sullivan demanding these documents is exactly what needs to happen.
The dynamic trio, Comey, McCabe, and Strzok, Cheryl Atkinson. You could relate this. You could relate to this, I'm sure, in your own way, especially on masking surveillance issues. But more importantly, I can't believe this has happened in our country. I don't care where you stand on the political spectrum.
I think you're getting at what I think is the bigger story, really, and is underreported in terms of how big it really is, which is the surveillance and other alleged abuses implemented by some bad actors in our intelligence community. And the problem is, I'm glad if Judge Sullivan is flirting around the edges of this in the Flynn case, but who ultimately does anything about it? Because those accused, as in the government computer intrusions to me or other things that we've talked about, are the ones who have the prosecutorial authority. And if they're not going to agree to investigate themselves and prosecute themselves, and so far they haven't, then where do you turn in all this?
I don't know how we remedy this between. You go back to, they're all the same characters in this play.
Yeah.
And, it's Strzok and Comey writing an exoneration before investigation. She was guilty. Biggest slam dunk obstruction case ever with the email server and not responding with a subpoena and erasing and bleach bit. And then, of course, the FISA abuse. James Comey's admission, Jim Jordan, they didn't vet it, but he put his signature on this thing to spy on an opposition party candidate. They've committed fraud against the FISA court. They don't even tell the judge who paid for it. So, it may have a political taint to it. That is not how things are supposed to work under this Constitution, under our Fourth Amendment rights.
No, you're exactly right. He said in the deposition last week that he didn't even know that they had a legal duty, if there was a legal duty, to present exculpatory information to the FISA judge. Of course you have to do that. And for the head of the FBI to say he didn't know that they technically had a legal duty to do that is scary. The other thing I come back to, Sean, is never forget the bias that exists with these key people. McCabe, Comey, Strzok, Page, Baker, these key people. Remember the name they gave the Clinton investigation. Mid-year exam. Something they had to get through. They knew the fix was in. They were going to get it taken care of, kind of get through the mid-year exam. But what was the name they gave the Trump-Russia investigation? Crossfire Hurricane. Just the names show you the bias that was there from the get-go with these top people at the FBI who ran both investigations.
And, Cheryl, if you look at what they did in all of these cases here, They're involved, the same characters, the same players, the same people that had a bias. They did this on week 1 of the Trump administration. Sounds like an insurance policy to me. Sounds like a media leak strategy is coming thereafter.
It sounds like an operation. And something I think we learned from Comey, I mean, I was someone who kind of thought this was plowing old ground to look back at the Clinton material. But in light of what he said, Comey said in his testimony that Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, should have recused herself and didn't, and was either compromised or appeared to be, not just from the tarmac meeting, but about some other unnamed material we don't know about. Number 2, he says, had he known about Agent Strzok and Page's text messages, he wouldn't have let them stay on the investigation that they did on Clinton.
Oh, that's right. And they wiped clean the phones of Strzok and Page when he worked for Mueller. And you know why I question Jeannie Ray and Andrew Weissman and Mueller's choice of his team, all Democratic donors? This is why. Yep. Pretty disgraceful.